Oh yeah, I want to do a movie review about it's a movie called Stranger Than Fiction. It has Will Ferrell and I forget the lady's name. I know Dustin Hoffman is in there as well, but it's a great movie. That movie by far is a great movie. It's almost like now this one is almost on some like borderline supernatural type stuff. You have a character Harold that he's a businessman. He works for the IRS. He's like kind of OCD as well because he's like counting his steps. He's counting how many guitars are in a store when he goes to the guitar center. He's counting stuff and whatnot. Like you can tell numbers are his thing and whatnot. So you have that, but then you have the narration, the voice that is narrating, and she's a best-selling author. She hasn't made a book in a while. She hasn't wrote a book in a while and whatnot. But essentially, all of her characters are like hero characters, or like good characters and whatnot. But they end up dying at the end. So the way that it picks up is that the first bit is going over the first bit is like going over Will Ferrell's like every day, like what he's doing normally, and then the second part kind of picks up to where like the next day he's then everything that's going on is being narrated by the woman's voice, and he's trying to figure out what's going on, where's the voice coming from and stuff like that, to the point where he's seeking out help, psychiatric help and whatnot, and then he actually gets recommended to one of the a professor at a he gets recommended by a professor and whatnot at a college that knows of the woman and enjoys her books, thinks she's an incredible author as well. But at some point in time, he has the voice is telling him about how he's going to die. Now, the biggest thing to me about me reviewing this movie is because I love how they make the symbolism seem like you have Will Ferrell, that his life is being narrated by this woman, this author. Um, so it's almost like she's almost like the Grim Reaper in a sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she has essentially control over this man's life. You know, she has control over this man's life. There's not even no other way to put it. Like, the moment that he's finally trying to figure out that she's an author, and some certain things and whatnot, the moment that he's trying to figure out, she's like typing on the typewriter, and she's like, the phone rings. The phone actually rings. The phone rang again. The phone rang again. The phone rang for a third time. The phone rang for a third time. So it's like, it's the fact that even though almost more so she's like God, almost like God, because she's narrating his life. It's like I almost see it as more so as the Grim Reaper, because then you have Dustin Hoffman's character that, there's a scene where he's actually gets to read the whole novel, where there is the inclusion of Will Ferrell's character Harold. He dies at the end. He reads the whole thing. The room that Dustin Hoffman character sits in is completely, well, a majority dark, but there's like one light, and he sits directly in that chair where the light is. He sits in that chair, and it's almost like that is like the biggest. I'm trying to find some good lighting and whatnot. It's almost like that's like the biggest, like, what I'm saying, like almost on some Grim Reaper meeting God type stuff, because you have Dustin Hoffman's character that is talking to Harold, and it's like, look, you're going to die, and it's okay. Even if you don't die today, even if you do talk to her and she, so and so and so forth, it's like, it's the fact that he knows that this other being has control over his life to the point that where he's going to die. And it's almost like, then even when Dustin Hoffman character is talking to Harold, it's like you see the backdrop is very, very bright, almost white looking, and then the only real obvious face is Dustin Hoffman's and whatnot. And it's like, it's just, honestly, it's incredible. It's an incredible movie, because then when she figures out that Harold Crick is a real human, one of the biggest things that I already had asked right then and there is like, okay, bet, how many people has she killed unintentionally? Because if all the heroes die, if all her characters die and whatnot, and it's like this happening with him, it's like, okay, bet. It's probably happened with some other people as well. But that was an incredible movie. And even in the beginning, even earlier on in the beginning, talking with the author lady and whatnot that writes the books, like her hotel, her business area where she's at, it's like white rooms. I mean, granted, there's like little black detail here and there, but there's like white rooms and whatnot. You have another scene where they're in the hospital, and for the most part, a hospital isn't just gonna let you in, past the double doors and whatnot. So it's like the fact that her and her assistant, played by Queen Latifah, they were just there in the environment where there's like somebody passing by, he's bleeding, he has the nurses and whatnot talking to him, he's bleeding and stuff like that, and that's gonna be important later on. But you have, he's bleeding and stuff like that, and it's just incredible. It's just incredible because it's like, okay, bet, why are they even here? How did they get there? Why is nobody even telling them? Why is nobody telling them, hey, you can't be here and stuff like that? So it's like that's what kind of gives the supernatural idea to it. And then as well, when you have the author and Queen Latifah's character, they're sitting on a bench on a rainy day. Queen Latifah has this bright yellow umbrella that sticks out even in the scenery. It's mostly like gray and black and very groggy and whatnot. The only bright thing was Queen Latifah's yellow umbrella, and it almost makes me think, like, is she like, if that's supposed to be the Grim Reaper, the author, if that's supposed to be the Grim Reaper, then is Queen Latifah's character like an angel? Like, is she like an angel type? Because she, in this dark world that the author has put herself in, that's the only light. That's the only light is from this woman. Is from Queen Latifah's character. It's incredible. It's incredible. And then even at the end, when it comes down to him about to die, and it's the fact that she switches it up last minute, and even at the end, throughout the movie, the author, she's looked very emo, very depressed looking and whatnot, but then at the end of the movie, you have her looking very, like, she looking healthy looking, like she's looking like she's taking care of herself. And then you have Dustin Hoffman, the professor. His character asks, like, why did you change it? Like, why did you change it and whatnot? Like, it was perfect how it was. It was great how it was. Why did you change it? And it's like just that little interaction between them two. That's what makes it seem like those are two deities talking to each other, because they had, essentially control over a man's life. Because, I mean, whether you admit it or not, Dustin Hoffman had control over that man's life as well. He's over there telling him to, be at peace with the idea that you're about to die and stuff like that. And then the irony in it is because remember when Dustin Hoffman character is telling Will Ferrell, you're going to die regardless. If it's not today, it's not tomorrow, it'll be next month, next year, whatever, blah, blah, blah. The fact that what was supposed to happen to Will Ferrell's character is he's supposed to die by getting hit by that bus after saving that little boy. But in the process, he put his hand up and his wristwatch took some of the blow, and even some of the glass from the watch got embedded into one of his into his artery, into an artery and whatnot, to the point where it kind of slowed up him bleeding out. But at the end of the movie, when you see that he's alive and the doctor is talking to him, and the doctor is like, yeah, we, this, that, and the third, was about to save you, and this, that, and the third, well, not about to save you, but it's like, yeah, it's all good and stuff. But then you find out that he still has a piece of glass in his artery. So it's like, it's the fact that ain't no telling, even though this movie is gonna be, at that point that movie's gonna be done in about 16 minutes and whatnot. It's like, okay, bet, say tomorrow, say to what's called, that glass is still right there by his artery, and it's so close to the artery that the doctor said that they didn't want to operate on it because he could bleed out. So that's the irony in it. It's like, okay, yeah, bet, you got your life saved for now, but and it's just incredible. And then just the thing that I'm trying to reiterate on is because you have, and the only reason why I bring up Dustin Hoffman is like a god type character is because when he's first introduced to Will Ferrell's character, the first thing that he's saying after he asks him some questions and whatnot, it's really cool because when he meets Will Ferrell's character, he can tell that Will Ferrell's character Harold is counting his step. He's counting how many stalls are in the bathroom. He's counting stuff. He's being very observant. But every time Dustin Hoffman's character asks him, Will Ferrell's character denies it, and Dustin Hoffman's character be like, like pretty much like calling his BS. Like that's incredible. And then you have with Dustin Hoffman's character asking Harold, he's asking him certain questions, and at the end of it, he's like, well, I can't help you. I got this, that, and the third to do. And essentially, it's like God would definitely be a busy person. God is definitely a busy person and whatnot. It would be a busy person and whatnot. So you see multiple cups of coffee. You see him, he's going through lists and stuff like that, and he's talking about, I got stuff to do, I got this to do, I got blah 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 blah. So it's just the idea that that's the reason why I kind of depicted him as like essentially God, or like a deity in a godlike deity in the movie, because of the fact that he has all these other things to do. He already knows about these things, because even with the whole him knowing that the gentleman is counting the steps and stuff like that, as far as we're concerned, that stuff wasn't transpired. It wasn't told to Dustin Hoffman's character. So how does he know that he's doing that? Like, he could just be looking at, he could just be looking there. But the fact that he knew, that'd be something right there. But you see Dustin Hoffman character and at the end, at one point in time, you see Will Ferrell's character go to the professor and try to get some advice and whatnot about what to do. The professor is at a pool. He's like a lifeguard and whatnot. You see people are there, obviously. Same thing with the woman, the author, and Queen Latifah's character being in the hospital, being in a certain part of the hospital that honestly don't think that they should have been in. But that's where I'm trying to explain the whole deity part, is because you have at the end of the movie, they run those two scenarios back. They run where, well, they run the one scenario where you see Dustin Hoffman's character is sitting at the pool, and he's at the pool, but he jumps in the pool alone. Nobody else is there with him except for him. He's the only person there. Same thing with in the hospital. In the hospitals, there are those mirrors that be in the corner, those big circular mirrors that be in the corner. And one of those mirrors, they use that image to capture the man that was bleeding out and whatnot that I spoke on earlier. The man that was bleeding out, when he's being passed by on the hospital bed, you can see the women are there. The first scene, like when they're first like showing on Queen Latifah's character and the author, you see them obviously see the man pass by. But then when you look in that little circle mirror and whatnot, you don't see the women. You don't see Queen Latifah's character. You don't see the author. So that's just my whole thing, to where it's like, yeah, that feels like that was on some I feel like that was on some like hidden message, deity, Grim Reaper, God type stuff and whatnot. I definitely believe so. But yeah, it was an incredible movie. That movie right there, out of 10, I would give that a 10. I'd give that a 10. I would give that a 10 because that was a damn good movie. It had its comedy, it had its love, it had its comedy, had its romance, had its tragedy. It's yeah, definitely. And and even in certain scenes, it just makes you smile. In certain scenes, it's just gonna put a smile on your face. So yeah, I definitely think that movie is worth it. I definitely would suggest anybody check that out. That movie, I definitely think it's worth it. Definitely.